Hey kids, it's Mr. Fly here, hope you're well, and welcome to another bike news, this time for the month of December 2024. So, welcome back to the channel, folks, and who would believe that 2024 has gone by so flipping quickly? I've only just got used to writing down 2024, and next week we're going to have to start writing 2025. I don't know, where does it all go? Anyway, never mind all that, we've got plenty of bike news to get through, only actually 3 issues of MCN to go through this time, because at Christmas time, MCN deservedly give themselves a week off, and we can't hold that against them, can we? Everybody needs a little bit of downtime. But anyway, plenty of stories to go through and plenty of great bikes to discuss. So grab yourself a brew, sit back and relax. Let's get on with what's been going on in the world of motorcycling here in the UK for December 2024. Right, first story then. KTM is my life's work. Now, this is a very sad story, this, and quite shocking, actually, when I first heard about it. And, of course, I suppose it is a bit old news now because we've heard about this. This came out about a month ago. But let me read you some lowlights, I guess, here. CEO Stefan, KTM is my life's work. CEO Stefan Pereira announces self-administration for Orange Austrian brand. KTM chief has announced the Austrian brand will undertake a 90-day self-administration process in a bid to restructure the company and move towards the end of their financial difficulties. Now, the fact that they've called it self-administration, I don't actually know what that technically means, but that sets off alarm bells immediately, doesn't it, in your mind? It sounds like they're going out of business. That isn't actually the case just yet. This is an attempt to stop it going out of business, but nonetheless, doesn't sound good. Moving on, like other manufacturers, KTM have excessive stock in the marketplace. The brand's reputation also took a hit in the summer with accusations of excessive camshaft wear on their LC8C twin-cylinder engine platform, which, you know, we said they did the right thing. They did a recall, didn't they, on that? But nonetheless, brand damage was done. Hundreds of jobs have also been axed, with increased manufacturing migration to India and China, as well as 25% reduction in planned production announced back in September. At the time of writing, share price values for the parent company, Pierre Mobility AG, have fallen by 86.02% over the past year, which is absolutely shocking. So, you know, my understanding is they're doing everything they can to restructure the business, but having dug a bit deeper into this, it seems their finances are basically shot, and I can't see how KTM's going to come back from this. I really hope they do. I think I'm right in saying they're the biggest motorcycle manufacturer in Europe. So if they go down, this is massively bad news for the industry. And never mind the loss of KTM motorcycles themselves, which of course we'll all lament the loss. But you've got to feel sorry for the staff, not only in Austria but around Europe and the world that depend on KTM, all the dealerships and so on. So really bad news that if you work for KTM, my heart goes out to you. And let's hope they do pull something out of the bag. But I really can't see how that's going to happen. But anyway, there we go. Let's not be too much of a Debbie Downer. Alrighty, moving on. Oh, I didn't say, I hope you had a nice Christmas, did I? I hope you had a nice Christmas. It's a funny old period, isn't it, between Christmas and the New Year? Can be a bit flat sometimes, but anyway, I hope you're having a good relax and you're getting over some of the mince pies and the turkey and starting to think about what your New Year's resolutions might be. Anyway, moving on to the next story. Time Machine, BMW expand Boxer Twin retro family with 1970s inspired cafe racer. Now this, what an absolute beauty this is. Now, I love a retro me, as I'm sure I've told you before, and I think this one looks absolutely stunning. I love the paint job. I love the fairing on it. Now, I love do you remember they did the R9T Racer a few years back, which looked absolutely amazing, but was an absolute sales flop, mainly because it was the most uncomfortable bike in the world to ride. I borrowed one for a couple of weeks and it was absolute torture. I loved it, but there was no way I would buy one. This time, it looks like they've learnt from their mistakes because the styling's very similar on this, but it's got the upright handlebars of the regular R912, R12 9T. So hopefully this one's going to be comfy. However, the big downside with this one is it's 18k. It's unbelievably expensive for a retro bike. I'm not sure I could justify 18k. I'd never say never because it is a lovely looking thing, I have to say. But anyway, let's read what it says here. It says the R12S will be priced at $18,460, and that's before you add any extras. You know what BMW are like for giving you the basic bikes, and you always wanting extra stuff. It's due to arrive in the UK in February. The S is set apart from the standard 14420 R12 9T by its standard fitment bar-mounted cockpit fairing and tinted front windscreen. And it does look fantastic with that, I have to say. Away from the colours, the R12S gets BMW's Option 719 Classic 2 spoked wheels with anodised rims. The handlebars and upside-down fork tubes are finished in black, helping to contrast against the orange livery. There's a dose of extra tech in the mix too, with BMW's optional comfort package coming as standard, including hill start control, shift assistant pro, heated grips and cruise control. I must say, it does look lovely, and out of all the current retros, I mean, this is one that I certainly... I just think it looks beautiful, but gosh, it's expensive, isn't it? Maybe if I sold a few bikes, it's maybe a new year. We'll see. We'll see. Anyway, I do love the look of that one. What do you reckon? Is it worth that, the 18 grand they're asking? I guess it's a toy, isn't it? If you got it, what? If you love it, what? It's a passion thing. Anyway, let's move on quickly before I get too distracted. Next story. Oh, did I move the camera there? Hope not. Price fighter. Voga's 900 DSX is based on BMW's F800 GS with a higher spec for less money, but is it better? Now, this is very apt for me because I've got my first ride review of the Voga 900 DSX coming up in January, and this is a bike that lots of people have been asking for me to review. So my review's coming up on this soon. Let's see what MCN had to say about it. The new Voga 900 DSX is the first larger capacity Chinese bike that not only undercuts its European or Japanese equivalent on price, but beats it in terms of specification and on paper performance too. Alrighty, it's all very well on paper, isn't it? But what happens in reality? Let's have a look at the verdict here. And this is from Phil West. The DSX is different, he says. The DSX is different. It's a premium machine with a high level of spec. It's a Chinese version of a BMW, not a knockoff. With the same engine and brakes, better suspension, wheels and all the options and accessories, including luggage, that with the BMW would cost £5,000 more. You cannot argue with the value here. Let's be clear, I wouldn't pick the DSX over the base 800 GS. The Voga isn't perfect and the price gulf not big enough for that. That's interesting. But if I wanted all the extras the DSX has, I would. It's a no-brainer, a line in the sand, and should give BMW and others plenty to think about. I completely agree, Phil. It was actually a little while ago when I made my review of it, so I can't remember quite what my conclusion was. But as I say, stick around, stay tuned to the channel if you want to see my review of that coming up soon. But certainly, you know, every time you mention Chinese motorcycles, you get a load of flack in this game. But they really have upped their game. They used to be made of toffee. They used to be rubbish 5 years ago. They've really upped their game. Don't be fooled. If you think people that say, oh, the Chinese can't make a motorcycle, you're absolutely wrong. They are masters of engineering if they need to be. Just look at any of their modern cities for evidence of that. Their bridges, their infrastructure and so on is leagues ahead of what we have in the West. Just watch some YouTube videos about what China's like today for evidence of that. But anyway, let's not get into that. I don't want to get into politics. But anyway, the bikes are certainly getting good these days. So yeah, there we go. Phil West is saying the same. Moving swiftly on, the first story about the new Speed Twin. There's some more coming up on this later in the review. This particular article came out when it was announced, I think. Later on, we'll be talking about how it rides with Dainese. The Twin with the sharpest teeth. Triumph gives the Speed Twin 1200 the RS treatment and is every inch the racy retro, he says. Let me read what he says on his verdict and then I'll tell you what I think. Triumph have moved the Speed Twin 1200 story on with the RS, and thanks to its racier chassis parts, quick shifter and extra power, it has a newfound spring in its step. It's sharp, grippy, composed and confidence inspiring. The engine is even more of a gem. It's smooth, packed with bottom end grunt and floods your ears with a soundtrack that pops, bangs and rumbles. Well, that sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Now, let me be completely clear here. If you don't know, I am a Triumph Speed Twin 1200 owner. I bought the original bike, when it came out in 2019. I love the Speed Twin. It's a fantastic bike, and I completely agree with Dainese in terms of the grumble and grunt that it's got. But I'm not sure that this new version is actually an improvement. I have asked Triumph if I can have a press loan of one as soon as possible, and they've said that I can, but they won't be around, I think, which is crazy, until March for a press loan, which is just nuts, really. But anyway, we'll have to wait and see for that one. But what I intend to do, of course, is a side-by-side comparison. Now, I've no doubt the new bike probably does ride better than the outgoing one. Certainly, there's been an upgrade between my bike and this latest one, and that upgrade interim bike handled better, to be fair. But what they've done this time is change the styling quite radically. There are some things about it that I don't like the looks of. So, for example, the big elephant in the room is the new clocks. They've replaced the beautiful, elegant, old-school clocks with a sort of an LED affair, which looks okay as LED affairs go. At least it's round. but I just don't think it has a place on a bike like this. I'd far rather stick with the older clock, so that's a massive downer. They've made the bike a slightly more sporty riding position, apparently. I'm not sure it needed that. People like me, of my age, that like riding these bikes, like a bit of comfort, so I don't necessarily need more sporty. They put some little cutouts in the fuel tank, which I just don't like the look of. I think it looks like a bodge job. But there we go. And there's some other bits of styling too, but let's wait until I can get my hands on a bike side by side with my original Speed Twin to do that direct comparison. But I will be keen to see what the bike rides like. What's your initial thoughts on the new Speed Twin? Do you like it? I'm not even sure I like this yellow paint scheme, And as far as things like it's smooth, packed with bottom end grunt and floods your ears with a soundtrack that pops, bangs and rumbles, well, my bike does that. The 2019 one sounds absolutely epic. I've got what Triumph used to offer as a factory option, the Vance and Hines pipes, and they sound absolutely amazing. They don't offer that anymore because, of course, Euro rules and so on have got more stringent. The bike is a bit more strangled. I bet you this new one doesn't sound as good as my one does. But anyway, let's wait and see. I look forward to giving it a go. Okay, final story in this first paper. Twist and Go Adventure, Honda's X-ADV 750 Adventure Scoot gets more comfort and convenience. Now, this is a bike that has always intrigued me. I rode it years ago when it first came out, and I really liked it. But it's a sort of a motorcycle disguised as a scooter, so I'm not sure here in the UK we're ever going to buy it in droves. It certainly sells well in Europe, and it's been one of Honda's top sellers in, unsurprisingly, Mediterranean countries, because it does handle and go like a motorcycle, but looks a bit like a scooter. Well, it doesn't have some of the convenience things. That's what gets me. It doesn't have like the under-seat storage of a scooter. Anyway, let's see what it says here. Honda's X-ADV Adventure Scoot gets more comfort and convenience. It shouldn't work, but it does. Honda's X-ADV 750 has been a sales success since its 2017 launch, with more than 76,000 sold across Europe, although not so much in the UK, as I say. Simon Hargreaves here, one of my favourite reviewers of all time, says, time to join Club X-ADV. I'll read out the whole summary here. If you've been enlightened enough to join the X-ADV Club, you'll appreciate all the new bike's fresh qualities. The new dash is easy on the eye and nice to use via the remodeled switchgear. The screen is nice and easy to adjust, while cruise control is becoming a deal breaker on many bikes. The reshaped seat makes the X-ADV more accessible, and the improvement in DCT's low-speed control is a welcome refinement when you're tackling city traffic. And the best part is the 2025 X-ADV at £11,249 is only 50 quid more expensive than last year's bike. So pretty good value actually for what you get there. And of course you get that DCT too, which makes great sense if you're using it as a city bike. I'm a massive fan of Honda's DCT on certain motorcycles. Things like this and the Goldwing that I have for cruising, touring, fantastic. Excellent, so that looks good. And again, I've asked Honda if I can have a go at one of these because, well, I'm just intrigued by how it feels, and it's high time I had another go on one because it has been, I can't remember off the top of my head how long ago since I rode one, but since it first came out. When did it come out? Does it say here? 2017, so that's probably when I last rode one. Been a good few years. Boy, doesn't time fly. That's a recurring theme of this particular episode. Right, moving on to the next paper. Right, 5 stories here to pick out. Starting up with Ducati's New Adventure. All new Multistrada V2 cuts weight by moving to incoming 890 twin platform. Now, do you remember we talked about on a previous bike news, the new twin platform that Ducati have developed, and it is significantly lighter than the old engine. It's effectively, I think it's the one that's after Panigale engine, isn't it? So it sounds, anything that makes a Multistrada lighter is good for me. Even the old V2 I found a little bit top heavy, so this is fantastic news. It says here, Ducati have used the 2024 Intermot show in Cologne, Germany to reveal a new Multistrada V2 adventure bike based around the latest 890cc twin-cylinder motor. Claimed to be 18 kilograms lighter, a significant amount that, isn't it? Which the outgoing Multi V2S, which arrived in 2022. You know what I mean. The new model tips the scales at a claimed 202 kilograms, that's the S model, with none of its 19 litres of fuel on board. Holding the engine as a stressed member is a new aluminium monocoque frame, plus redesigned steel trellis subframe and double-sided swing arm cast in aluminium. Puts out 113 brake horsepower. It's got a 790mm seat height, which you can go up to 870, so it's a bit lower. It always used to be a tall bike as well, which is another of my criticisms. If you want the base bike, it's 13,995, so 14 grand. The V2S, 16,390. So what is now classed as a middleweight adventure bike, you're going to spend at least 14 grand on this. But it's a beautiful looking thing. I've always liked the look of Multistrada. If this feels as light as the figures would have you believe, this is a potential winner for me. If I ever replace my GS, and I don't know if I'll ever do it, I'll probably run that bike into the ground. I love it so much. Then this would probably be a contender, actually. I don't need all the speed and pace of the big V4. It's wasted on me, really, and the extra weight. This would be absolutely fine for me. Trouble is, of course, it is missing things like the radar cruise control and the blind spot monitoring that you get on the V4. So maybe that's something to take into account. But yeah, it's a beautiful looking bike. What do you make of this? Is it something you'd consider instead of buying, say, a new GS? Right, interesting. Following on from the first story of this bike news about KTM having its financial woes, it says here, John Ari, be brave and take the risk. KTM are going through a very rough patch, with each week seemingly bringing a new story adding to their woes, from job cuts to worn cams to the latest plummeting in share price after the announcement that they need to find 100 million plus down the back of the sofa to stay financially stable. It just goes from bad to worse. Not wishing to sound like a vulture here, but I reckon now might be a good time to buy a KTM, is what John says. So I'm just interested in what you think about this, because I pondered this myself. Is it a good time to buy one? I'm sure we know one of the KTM's issues is that they've got this massive unsold inventory. So I'm sure you could do a cracking deal if you went to your local KTM dealer. They're, I'm sure, pretty desperate to get rid of those bikes off the showroom floor. But just because you can get a brand new bargain, is that a good idea if the dealer's closed 6 months down the line and maybe your warranty suddenly is worthless? I don't know. What do you think? Would it be worth getting one or not? If you're a KTM fan, it is worth the risk. If you've had KTMs before and you're happy with them, then maybe it's worth a go. Personally, I don't think, knowing that, you know, the issues that there are with the company, I don't think I could bring myself to spend, you know, a lot of money on a new KTM at the moment, but I might be in the minority there. Again, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer on KTM, but interested to hear your views on whether you think now is a good time to buy a new KTM or not. Right, another little sad story here. Ariel play a final ace. Do you remember Ariel, the car manufacturers? They make the Atom. Well, I say car, they make motorcycles as well. They used to make, although it now turns out used to make, the Ariel Ace as well. Let me read you what it says here. Small-scale British car and motorcycle manufacturer Ariel Motor Company have confirmed that their 10-year production run of the Ace has come to an end. I can't believe it's been 10 years. I'm pretty sure 10 years ago I was doing a bike news about the Ariel Ace. A bike I always intended to ride and I never got round to doing. I think it looked awesome when it came out. Now I'm not so sure. I'm thinking it maybe doesn't look quite so good as it used to, but it's certainly different. That girder front end looks incredible. That sort of space frame idea where the fuel tank normally would be, and it's based on Honda's V4 as well, out of the VFR 1200. Anyway, it says here, first launched in 2014, the Ace was powered by the 1237cc Honda V4 from the VFR 1200 and was sold as either a manual or semi-automatic DCT. It's not the end though, say Ariel apparently, and the company remains open to the idea of more bikes in the future. So that's great news. Let's hope they do produce something. Obviously very niche, very boutique, very expensive, but certainly looked an amazing bit of kit. And this final one that they've produced in these Golf colours looks absolutely incredible, doesn't it? But too late if you want to buy a new one. They ain't making any more. If you did buy one of the original ones, I'm sure the value is going to go up. Right, check this out. Adventurer to Apex Predator. Radical concept turns R1300 GS sporty. Now, the new GS I've been critical of in the past because of its looks. Not just because of its looks. It's the standard bike's looks. I'm kind of got over them now. But it's also about the way that you use the bike in terms of the electronics. Quite difficult to dig through menus and things to get stuff that I think should be on buttons. But that's just my opinion. I know lots of people love them. Anyway, company here has come out with this sort of body kit that makes it look absolutely flipping awesome. Pooch. P-U-I-G. Sometimes people call it Puig. It's actually pronounced Pooch. It's in Spanish. Anyway, Pooch have given BMW's R1300 GS a racy makeover, adorning the 143 brake horsepower adventure tourer with athletic new bodywork and smaller 17-inch wheels, transforming the GS's look from a rugged globetrotter, what the hell's a tropper, to track-oriented pseudo-sports bike. It certainly looks mean. I do like the look of this. Just changing that front end to that pointy bit looks good, doesn't it? Although goodness knows what the headlights are like, because I can't really see where they are. Anyway, while those bolt-on goodies are available directly from other manufacturers, the Pista kit, which is what Pooch are calling it, remains in a concept stage. That hasn't stopped Pooch releasing the details of the individual parts, though. So presumably, if you want one of these, if you've got a GS and you want to soup it up with these fancy brake cooling ducts and the bodywork and the paint scheme, you can go to Pooch and get the kit or get all the details from them. I think it looks great. What do you think? I mean, to make it into a sports bike, you might think, well, why would you do that to an adventure bike? Well, number one, it's a comfortable bike to ride. And number two, the thing is flipping sporty. The bike goes like a rocket. One thing I have no complaints of is the way the new GS's ride. They are absolutely fantastic riders' machines. You don't look at them while you ride them, do you? That's one thing that people say. Although that new adventure version, I just cannot get my head around that. But this does look good. So, yeah, interested. Would you go to the expense of buying a new GS and then doing this to it? Again, comments below on that. Right, last story in this paper, if I don't get tangled up in my microphone. A Right Royal Retro Classic. So this is the Royal Enfield Classic 650. Now you remember, well you may remember if you watched the channel, this time last year I had a sort of longish term loan. In fact, I think I had it for 3 or 4 months, a Classic 350. Loved the looks of the bike, but it was quite heavy to move around and it was very low powered. So the weight plus the low power meant powder weight, not good. It was pretty sluggish. And my main complaint on that bike was that it was underpowered. Lots of people said you don't get it. It's, you know, it's meant to be underpowered. You enjoy the charm of it and all. But I sort of understand that, but it did need more power than it had. So the fact that they've now come out with one with the 650 from the Interceptor in, I think is great news. And I think it looks absolutely stunning again. And I can't wait to ride this one. This could be my current favourite of the Royal Enfields. Anyway, it says here, underneath the retro front, Royal Enfield's Classic 650 is based around the same chassis and engine as the firm's Super Meteor, which is the sort of cruisy looking bike, I think, albeit with upgraded bodywork and even more retro style. This means that the spec sheet reveals around the same peak power as the first 650 twin 6 years ago, which is 46 brake horsepower, which is probably enough for a bike for pooling around the lanes, to be fair, but a hefty 243 kilograms wet weight. That's a lot to shove around without too many ponies, so they're already hinting that it might be this might be underpowered too. On bigger, faster roads, the Classic felt a wee bit wheezy up against high-speed traffic. Oh dear, this isn't going well. The engine is willing enough with a pleasing delivery for the most part, but we'd like to see a little more power for when speeds increase above 50 or 60 miles an hour. Goodness me, this is Alan Dowd's writing. Just read his summary for you. I met Alan once, actually. Hilarious fella. Nice guy. It worked well on country back roads and through town, only feeling a bit out of place on faster single and dual carriageways. The ground clearance is limited and the suspension a bit on the bouncy side. The finish is great, and the only other criticism of the spec is the MRF tyres, which work fine, but don't have the cachet of Pirelli or another top brand. Well, I suppose you could replace those fairly quickly. If you want one of these, it comes in from 6,500 quid basically in the red, and 6,800 if you want the chrome one, which does look amazing, but means you're going to have your polishing kit out. I think it looks lovely. Can't wait to have a go. And it'll be interesting to see if it still does feel underpowered compared to the 350. I can't believe it feels as underpowered as that one did. But, you know, twin is twice the weight, isn't it? So maybe it's theoretically better, but hasn't made much difference. I don't know. But we shall see. At least the dash on it looks fantastic and it's still analogue. Well done, Royal Enfield, on that. Alrighty, getting on to the last few stories then for MCN from this month until we get on to parish notices. Custom cruising. Triumph launched limited run Bobber TFC special. Triumph have introduced a new Bobber TFC limited to 750 bikes worldwide at a price of, wait for it, £17,195 on the road. Now this does look incredible. 17 grand for a Bobber. Anyway, it has new gloss carbon fibre bodywork, a two-tone gold and black finish, retuned version of its 1200cc parallel twin, a pair of slash-cut Akropovich silencers, let's get that pronunciation right, TMF, more aggressive engine map. There's also a new sport mode. Sport on this, does that make sense? I don't know. The rear lights are now integrated into the indicator stalks. I don't know if I like that, actually. I think that used to be available as an option. I think that's probably a US market thing anyway. Sounds like they may be just standardised on that. I don't know. Twin Brembo M50 radial calipers and 310mm disc plus Öhlins 43mm Nix 30 upside down forks and rear shocks. So it's got all the right cycle parts and it does look absolutely beautiful. In fact, I'm quite tempted to ask Triumph if they're going to bring down another bike for me to borrow, whether I can stick one of these in the van while they're at it so I can have a go. It does look absolutely stunning. But it is a lot of money. Of course, these Triumph factory customs are still made at the Hinckley factory. So if that's important to you, then that might be worth the 17 grand. I don't know. What do you reckon? Let me know in the comments below. Right, next up, the Honda Hornet, the new 1000cc bike that we've all been so looking forward to, and we know this is going to absolutely fly off the shelves. It says here, get the full SP for under 10k. Nevesy, I think it's Nevesy, yes, has been out and about riding it now. He went to the launch. So it says here, meet the new Honda CB1000 Hornet SP, a real-world super naked at a bargain price. Honda's new Hornet SP would seem to have it all. It's powered by a snarling 155 brake horsepower superbike engine, runs top-spec Öhlins TTX 36 shock, Brembo style ammo brakes, a quick shifter, auto blipper, full armoury of electronic aids, and if that wasn't enough, it will cost you just £9,999. Honda, I have to salute you. This is brilliant news, and hopefully is the start of a bit of a trend from manufacturers, because this is 100% going to fly off the shelves. This is going to be bikes of the year. It's going to be the bestseller, I'm sure. I mean, it looks lovely. I'm sure it rides beautifully. We'll find out in a second. Now that sounds, sorry, it says here it will be, let's just recap. It says here it will cost just $9,999 when it goes on sale next month. Now that sounds like a bargain, but is it any good? Well, after a day riding it on a mix of fast and slow mountain road rides near Benidorm in Spain, the answer is a resounding yes. So this is Neves' review. I've also watched a few online reviews. I saw Al Fagan's review. He absolutely loved it. In fact, he said he might buy one himself. I'm thinking of buying one myself as well. I haven't even ridden it yet. Who else have I seen? I think I saw the Bennett's one, did I? They also raved about it. No one's saying anything bad about this bike. There's no doubt it's an absolute winner. Let me read the verdict. Also, it's an absolute winner because it's in black and gold. Why don't everybody make bikes in black and gold? It would, maybe if KTM had chosen black and gold instead of orange, they wouldn't be where they are now. Anyway, sorry, cheap shot. Here we go. A breath of fresh air, says Neves. Even if you put its price to one side, the new CB1000 Hornet SP is impressive. It's rapid, exciting, sharp handling, easy to ride, and well equipped. The Olin Shock and Brembo Stylema brakes ooze specialist. Attention to detail is top notch, and the level of equipment is more than generous. Honda deserve a round of applause, I agree, because not only, oh, actually, if I was really clever, I can do a round of applause. Here we go. All right, that's enough of that. That's for you, Honda. Anyway, they got their own applause because it's not only their new Sport Naked, good news for your wallet, it's a breath of fresh air in a world where performance bikes have become ever more expensive and out of reach. I could not agree more. What an absolute cracking bike. Well done, Honda. And yeah, I imagine other manufacturers are starting to get to the drawing board to see what expensive features they can cut back to bring out bikes that are much more affordable to compete with the likes of this. I mean, it doesn't look in any way cut down. It doesn't look cheap. And let's face it, it's a Honda. It's going to be reliable. That's fantastic news. That's the bike I'm probably most excited to look at in 2025. Right, budget battleground. Can Royal Enfield's 4,850 Gorilla launch a surprise attack on Triumph Speed 400 sales success? Now, this is of interest to me in particular because I recently put up my video reviewing the Gorilla, and I was talking about it against the Triumph Speed 400, another bike that I love. And I thought it held its own very, very well indeed. So the Speed 400 is 5,195. The Enfield comes in at 4,850, so a little bit cheaper. Very similar bikes to ride. They both look great. They both got a great build quality, and they're both a stunning price again. Let's see what it says here. Right, John Urry says, Triumph's out in front. Ultimately, the Enfield Gorilla under-delivers where the Speed 400 over-delivers in every way. That's interesting, not quite my view. More fun to ride, lighter, and with not only much classier styling, but also a level of technology and spec that is expected on a modern naked bike. It isn't hard to see why the Speed 400 has been such a resounding success. I completely agree with that, actually. It's an incredible value for money bike, for sure. And it is lovely and light, and it is fun. But so is the Gorilla. I can't see the Gorilla replicating the sales of Enfield's own air-cooled models, the success, of their own air-cooled models, and certainly not the runaway success enjoyed by the Speed 400. That's interesting that John thinks that. I think it's much closer than that, personally. I think, number one, I mean, the Triumph Speed 400 may be the slightly better bike. I don't think it's that cut and dry myself. I would urge you, if you're interested in either bike, to ride both and make your own decision. You do save a little bit of money on the Enfield. I think the Enfield probably looks a little bit more modern. I think I like the looks of the Enfield a little bit more, in fact. There's something about the Triumph which, although I do love the looks, it's I don't want to use the word noddy, but there's something about it that makes it seem a little bit like a toy bike, even though it's physically quite large. Something about the styling, I don't know, because it's kind of stubby. There's just something about the styling that doesn't quite work for me when you compare it to a full-blown, say, T120 Bonneville that just looks right in every way. It doesn't quite look right, but that might just be me, and it's very much a subjective thing. But interested in your views on that, especially if you've tried both bikes and made a decision on which one, or whether you're an owner of either of the bikes. Why do you think one outweighs the other? Okay, final story then for this year on Bike News. Goodness me, where did 24 go? And it's back to the Triumph Speed Twin. I said that Neves was going to be riding it. What he said here, we'll just skip straight to the verdict because we've already spoken about the Speed Twin quite a bit. Triumph Speed Twin 1200 isn't a huge step on from before, but the whole shebang is smoother, more refined. Its engine is rumbling right of grunt. The handling and brakes are superb. It's all-day comfy and easy to get the best out of. Some might say the modern clocks don't fit with the old school look. I do, but they're functional and easy to read. So there we go. He likes it. Is the verdict on the ride? So yeah, look forward to having a go on that myself in 2025. All right, just time left then in 2024 to let you know what's coming up in the new year on the channel, and in fact slightly before that as well. Well, no, it's not. First one is on New Year's Day. It's going to be my final ride of the Royal Enfield Gorilla, and it's all about, have I changed my mind? Is it as good as I thought it was? So watch that one if you're interested in those bikes. On the 4th of Jan, I've got my first ride review of the Voga 525 DSX, and just really some thoughts about whether you can trust the bike. So that'll be of interest to you if you're interested in the Vogues. On the 8th of Jan, me and Mrs. Fly bring you a bit of sunshine as we ride Spain's most dangerous road. So we thought we'd let you see what it's like to ride on dry roads again. We've been out with our friends at Canary Motorcycle Tours. So 8th of Jan, there's a video on that coming up. On the 11th is my final ride of the Ninja 1100 SX that I've currently got in the garage. I haven't filmed that yet because I'm going to be doing that over the next few days. But yeah, lovely bike actually. I really do like that. It's a quality piece of kit. Something I didn't mention in my first ride review that went up last week is that just the build quality of it is beautiful. The fit and finish on that thing is lovely. It does look good in the garage. So I've got 3 Kawasaki's in there at the moment, and I think that's the first time that's ever happened. Anyway, moving on the 15th of January, Voga 900 DSX. That's coming up, my first ride. Now, this has to be the most requested bike I've had to review in 2024. So that's coming up on the 15th of January, 2025. So sorry, it's been such a long wait. On the 18th is the first video on the Ducati Hypermotard 695 Mono. What a hoot that bike is. That's coming up. And then there's going to be an interesting vlog or two. I'll say no more about that, but they're going to be special. There may be a Twits or two. Twits 2, it's got a ring about it. And keep your eyes open as well, because there might be a special live stream. I've got a little idea in my mind. Now I've got some of this extra fancy kit. I can do all sorts of things with live streams, and I'm thinking about maybe even doing a phone-in. So we'll see. I've got to get the technology sorted, and I've got to be brave. So I might do like a live phone-in radio program at some point, or I might do a mixture. We might get some guests. I don't know. I might do it with Mrs. Fly. Who knows? But keep your eyes open for a live stream coming soonish. I know I keep saying that, but I get nervous about doing these things, so I don't like to plan them too far in advance because I'll just be cacking my pants beforehand. So if I decide I'm going to do one, I'll let you know via the socials. Do follow me on Instagram. That's the one I'm most active on. I think it's just missandenflyer@gmail.com. No, that's my email. I think it's just missandenflyer on Instagram, or Facebook is the other one. I'll notify on each, and I'll try and send out a message via YouTube too, but that'll be... Basically, I won't give you a lot of notice, but it'll be at 8 o'clock one evening. We'll do that special live stream, hopefully. Bike news, by the way, won't happen in January. I'm going to have a month off for bike news, but do not panic. Don't send me all those messages about where's bike news. It will be back in February with a bumper edition, I'm sure. So all that's left to say now then is thanks for watching through 2024. I've thoroughly enjoyed making these videos. Thanks for all your support and comments through the year, and Happy New Year for 2025. Until then, this has been the Missin' and Flyer. Cheerio.